Are you dreaming of the lifestyle that comes with successful trading? Well, it's time to make it a reality. Welcome to the Trading Ascension podcast, where you can discover methods to improve your trading results by focusing on your trading psychology. I'm Jason E., your guide on this path to trading improvement, self-discovery, and self-mastery. Together, we'll explore the personal and spiritual growth journey of profitable day trading. Prepare to unlock the secrets of the trader's mind and align your inner self with your personal success. Listen to this episode if you want to ascend to new levels of trading excellence and personal development. This is Trading Ascension, supporting your journey to mastering trading psychology and personal growth for consistent profits. Let's elevate your trading and your consciousness starting now. Imagine you're about to enter a trade. Your fingers hovering over the button to select buy or sell. Suddenly, your heart races. Your palms sweat. Maybe your hands start to quiver some. Is that excitement or is it fear? In today's episode, we'll unravel the mystery of fear. We've all heard that trading is all about fear, all about greed. But what does that really mean? While greed might present itself in easy ways to see, right? Over trading or over leveraging, fear is a more complex beast. It's not just about battling the fear of losing money, right? That's part of it. But after all, why do traders using disposable income, or like the Forex folks say, starting with $100, why do they still grapple with fear? Today, in the style that we can only do here in the Trading Ascension community, blending research, studies, real-world trading experience, cutting-edge psychology, and neuroscience, we're going to dive deep into what fear truly is, how it plays a part in the career and the actions of a day trader, and of course, we're going to have, sprinkled through this episode, action steps. Action steps. So we can decrease the effect that fear has on our performance. So we're going to explore why fear can persist even when trading with disposable income, and uncover the surprising ways that fear can actually improve your trading. Get your journal out. Let's lock in, traders. By the end of this deep dive, you'll see fear not as an enemy, but a powerful tool leading you to self-insights and transformation. So let's get it in. I recently started my journey into a guy named Ralph Adolph. He's a professor at Caltech. Among other things, he's a Brin professor at Caltech. It kept saying Brin. I don't know what that means. For the time it took to research this show and next week's show, I didn't want to dive into it, but I think it's important to bring up that officially is his title. And among other things, he studies the neural and psychological basis for human social behavior. Now, I'm bringing him up because he does some research around the topic of fear. And I think that some of his points and, some things I found in his research and his perspective, they correlate well with what we do. So I'm going to reference some of his information. First off, with the definition of fear from Adolph's perspective. He states fear is a psychological state with specific functional properties, conceptually distinct from conscious experience, a latent variable that provides a casual explanation of observed fear-related behaviors. Now, that is a lot to break down, so let's get into it. So he said fear is a psychological state with specific functional properties. Now, in layman's terms, this means that fear is not the same thing as the feeling of being afraid that we're consciously aware of. Fear can exist and influence our behavior even when we don't consciously feel scared. It's a separate process that doesn't always align with our conscious awareness. Now, then Adolph states that fear is conceptually distinct from the conscious experience. Now, in simpler terms, that just means that fear is a particular condition of the mind and it's serving a specific purpose, right? It's not a feeling. but a state that causes certain reactions and behaviors. These reactions and behaviors help, and they help in a certain way. We'll go into that later, but they've evolved over time. They help us deal with threats. They help us survive dangerous situations. So fear is deep within us. It's an innate function. And Adolf suggests that fear is more than just an emotion that we feel. It's a complex mental state that has evolved to help us respond to these threats, whether we know it consciously or we're aware of it consciously or not. Now, when defining fear, he says it's a latent variable. Now, this means we only know it's there by its output because we never, we don't see it. So fear can influence behavior even when we're not consciously aware of this, right? So different ways, we're kind of saying the same thing here, right? If you notice the repetition, because when we look into the origins of fear, we have to understand that it has a very specific purpose. It's shaped by natural selection to help organisms respond effectively to dangerous situations, right? And that's the same predatory avoidance, fight or flight stuff that we talk about a lot when it comes to our nervous system and how we react to the market. So with the foundation of fear understanding that it's not a reaction, it's this more of a state of survival, let's move on. Because the primary purpose of fear is to protect and preserve life by helping us as individuals avoid or respond to potential threats. Now, we all know that the natural threats that, used to be around, good, bad, or indifferent, they're not around anymore because humans have dominated the earth. We live in an age where far more threats are perceived and not actual, right? Our ancestors had a lot of real threats. I like the Y-Files. There's an episode about the battle of humans versus these superhumans, and I can't wait to dive into that show. But we don't have the same threats our ancestors did. Now, because we don't have the same threats and our biology is the same, we can't assume that our biology is dumb or it's outdated. It just needs to be interpreted in a more enhanced way. You need to know that fear is persistent. And that means that fear, the response to it can last way beyond the immediate threat. Also, fear is a teacher. The state of fear, it has psychological effects. It can impact decision-making and the process of decision-making. Fear can influence risk assessment and decision-making because under fear conditions, people tend to be more pessimistic, right? Their judgments about the future are a little more pessimistic. So fear, it also hinders our cognitive performance. And extreme fear can lead to cognitive impairment. What we call analysis paralysis. So, where does it come from? How does it creep up on us? For day traders, it's easy to guess that fear is often initiated by the potential of financial loss. That one's easy to spot. However, it can be triggered by market volatility, unexpected price movements, or past experiences with loss. And past experiences in general, right? Childhood trauma. Now, there are a few moments, and it's not limited to, but a few things I want to point out where the market can trigger fear. Entering a trade is one. That moment that you actually commit your capital, it can induce fear of making a mistake. Now, if you are watching price movement, right, and those fluctuations, seeing the market move against one's position, even if it's just a few ticks, can trigger fear. Also, when price action is approaching stop loss levels, right? As price nears a predetermined exit point, the fear of loss can intensify, right? And that's where you see some traders just moving their stop loss. Like, it's getting close. Let me just risk a little more. Don't do that. Now, fear can also present itself after a series of loss. Remember, I talked about fear being a teacher. So these past negative experiences can heighten fear in subsequent trading, right? In trades. Also, a lack of confidence can trigger fear. The thought that you will never reach your trading desire, right? And this is big picture. The fear of I'm not going to reach my goals ever can have a underlying fear that looms over every action you take. Now, although fear is a brain function behind the scene, it can manifest in day traders, forcing them to experience these psychological fear responses, right? And these are the ones that are more physical, like increased heart rate, sweating. And these can happen even before consciously recognizing the fear. These unconscious responses can influence anything we do, right? Again, our decision making, and it can potentially lead to maybe premature exiting or a hesitation to enter the trades, right? So there's a difference between the fear that's healthy and fear being debilitating. Now, it may be mistaken for excitement, and that could cause a trader to overtrade, right? They like, ooh, I'm feeling this feeling. That's a hunch to get in now. It's not in my plan, but do it now, right? Or they can get in the market just when it's not the right time, right? It's just a hunch. It could be fear. Now, while excessive fear can be detrimental, right, debilitating, a certain level of fear can be beneficial, promoting caution, risk management, and that's a healthy relationship with fear. The challenge for traders is to balance these adaptive functions of fear that we have with the need to take these calculated risks that are necessary for our success as day traders. Now, it's crucial for traders to distinguish between that healthy caution and debilitating fear, as this can significantly impact our decision making and overall performance. So, here's some characteristics of healthy caution. Maybe I should put this at the end, but this is a good place for it. First off, healthy fear promotes thoughtful risk assessment. Healthy fear encourages thorough market analysis. When you're using fear to your benefit, it leads to setting appropriate stop losses. It also motivates us to stick to our trading plan. And it also allows us to take calculated risk. Not over calculated risk, not over leveraging. Now, on the other end, when is fear becoming debilitating? When is it negative? Well, when it causes analysis paralysis, right? We see our setup there, but we're like, it's perfect, but not this time. I'm not going to do it. Or if it leads to, leads to missed trading opportunities. It's debilitating fear if it results in premature exiting from profitable trades, right? And we know that part of our strategy where we have a clear plan on managing what's going on in the trade. It can cause overtrading, revenge trading when fear is debilitating, right? Or it could lead to ignoring one's trading strategy. So a lot of things for fear can work for us on the positive and on the negative side. Now, to help us differentiate between the two, I suggest some self-assessment questions. First, in no particular order, but you may want to ask yourself, am I avoiding trades that meet my criteria, or am I being selective? Market context, experience is really the only way to be selective. Don't let your mind fool you. I'll mention this probably later, that you're being intuitive. Is my hesitation, this is the second question, is my hesitation based on market analysis or just emotional discomfort, right? Kind of plays off number one. Number three, am I following my risk management rules or am I excessively risk adverse? It's a gray area, right? Thin line, I should say. Number four, Can I articulate logical reasons for my trading decisions? Right? What is the data? What's the math behind your trading decisions? And number 5, am I able to execute my trading plan, or do I feel frozen? So I encourage you all to regularly reflect on these questions to gauge whether your caution is healthy or if it's crossed over into this debilitating fear. Now, in my corporate gig, I educate new hires on policies and industry regulations in an industry that's highly regulated. And what I've noticed is anxiety and fear of performance is more common these days than it used to be maybe 5-10 years ago. If you have debilitating fear, but you want to trade, you may want to look into AI trading assistants. Now, I have very, very small experience with this. I'm working with a platform to be able to provide some awesome tools for the community in this way. Some more to come on that, but just a suggestion. And let's talk about leveraging fear. When fear can be beneficial in trading. Now, like me, maybe you're saying, well, what is the benefit of fear? How does it help us? Sounds really, really negative. Why do we need that? So fear can aid performance enhancement. Fear, when it's induced, its chemicals can orchestrate a coordinated function to arouse peak performance in us for either avoidance, escape, confrontation. And this is likely, it might be a reach, but it can be a beneficial factor in trading just like it is overall in life. Now listen to this. In regards to learning and memory, fear facilitates rapid learning and robust encoding of threat-related information for future use. One of the quickest ways to form a long-lasting habit is by burning it into a fear that supports it. Anyone who grew up getting spankings, you know that works, right? It's like touching a hot stove, right? Great chance the fear of getting burned or getting a spanking again, right? Whatever that fear is, will force you to take action to avoid, take you to take different actions in the future. Now, I'm not saying, that you want to seek this pain or have trading situations that induce pain. But when you do, right, when you have these painful situations, right, I suggest sitting in that pain, clearly thinking about a few things and writing these things down. First off, what actions led to that pain, right? What did I do to feel this way? What's happening right now as I'm feeling this way? And then the outcome of that action. Well, I took this action. This is what happened, led to that feeling, as much as you can. Sometimes it's like, it's like chasing cotton, if you've ever been around cotton trees and it's floating everywhere. The last thing is what you can do next time to act in your own best interest. And that's the important part. That's what you want that pain that's what you want to end this pain session with. So you have that new behavior there. Now, this process helps because fear can orchestrate these peak performance things, and you can't really control the process, but you can guide the process slightly. So let's talk more about, what helps us, the solutions and the action steps. Action steps. Everything I'm going to mention or have mentioned will be helpful, but I must say that all these tools must be used paired with or in conjunction with a solid trading plan and ongoing self-reflection and a mindset that says, I'm going to improve. I'm going to change. I'm willing to change. There are no magic pills. Now, Ralph Adolph suggests that the danger itself, right, outside threats is universal, but the experience of fear is personal and unique. So this implies that a personalized approach to managing fear is always going to be the most effective, right? It's your life. You got to figure that ish out. However, just like every week, I want to provide some ideas so you at least have a starting point to start your own self-discovery and find your own solutions. Now, one tool, and I'll say this first tool, but no particular order, right? I didn't really rank these, but I want to mention that one way to help us against fear is understanding your personal fear responses. Like we mentioned before, fear is latent, right? It occurs within, and it's different from being afraid. If we were all, hooked up to these brain machines, these EEGs, we could easily recognize brain activity. Now, on that note, before I go on, because I did do some research here and I don't have experience with these, but there are personal EEG machines that can actually monitor your brain activity, because that's an easy way to see it, right? And I'll talk about the way for the rest of us in a second. But there are things called biofeedback devices. One particular is HeartMath Inner Balance, and they're sensory clips that you put on your earlobe. It connects to a smartphone app, and this can help traders monitor and improve their heart rate variable, or what's called HRV, so they can get to a place that leads to better emotional regulation and decision making. Now, the next thing, there's a thing called a Muse headband, and this is also an EEG, right? An EEG just means it's a machine that's registering and monitoring brain waves. But this device provides real-time feedback on brain activity during meditation, right? And this can help traders develop mindfulness skills that can be applied later to trading sessions. And I'll come back to meditation because that's important to mention as well. Now, no matter, how you go about it, the best thing is to closely monitor our physical and mental state so we can see the signs of fear creeping into our domain. And just knowing within ourselves, right? So if you don't use an EEG, there are other tools like journaling, right? To help us find out more about ourselves. Now, I know about me historically, when I get about $400 away from funding targets, that trade there, my hands get a little shaky, right? I always put a little too much importance on it, especially for the fundings that take 10, 20, the longer day ones, right? I'm like, man, a lot of time invested. I'm almost there. And that heightening of emotion, it's not good, right? So we have to know how we personally react to fear. And we can tell when it presents itself when we start to display those signs. So some of the signs could be heavy breathing, uneasiness, or however it presents itself, right, in your life. So a few major suggestions here. Of course, you can use that EEG technology, but this is where journaling comes into play. Journaling your trading experiences, it's going to grant you an outside perspective on your trading experience, right? It's going to move you from within the emotion so you can better see it. So think about a tornado video. This is kind of how I visualize it. When I see these films of someone filming a tornado and they're in the tornado, right? They're in their house and it's approaching. It's dark. It's scary. Things are flying around. It's crazy. But when I see a tornado video, from a drone or from miles away, it's actually beautiful, right? It can be admired. Still dangerous, but the distance helps. Keeps us safe. We can study it from that distance. So journaling is a way for us to get out of the storm and see the beauty of our own body's communication with us via fear. Now, I'm a pen and paper, sticky note guy, but I also use, journal software, and I'm working on my own, product solutions. Oh, and next week it's going to blow your mind on how you can use tools and technology to enhance your trading on all fronts, right? You won't regret tuning in next week. Hopefully you never regret tuning in, but as far as trading software, TraderSync, EdgeWonk, TradeZilla, I'm not affiliated with any of these platforms. Maybe I do have an affiliate code for one of those, but whatever, I'm not going to look for it. But these platforms allow you to log not just your trades, but I think the first two, maybe the third one, allow you to put your emotions and your mental states there. And there's a lot you can do with technology once you have that data. We'll talk about that next week. But by analyzing your data, you can identify patterns between your emotional state and your trading performance. Now, this next solution, I'm a broken record on this, I know. So let me try to state this a different way. I'm going to do a slow reveal here. Stay with me. All right. Let's say you're searching for Waldo. Now, maybe I'm dating myself. Waldo used to be a big thing for me. There are these books called Where's Waldo? Book series for kids. Not really any words, just these really intricate pictures with the goal on each page of finding this guy who had a beanie, red and white striped shirt, and some blue jeans. Now, let's say if you've never done it, it's great for concentration. Go look up a Waldo page. It's fun. Good way to kind of train the mind. But anyway, let's say on one page, we have 2 pages of Waldo. On one page, you have a normal Waldo page. Now, if you don't know, it takes weeks to finish a Waldo page because there's so much detail. And that was back when they were, drawing it with technology. Who knows? AI could probably do it fast, but it takes weeks because there's so much detail, right? So that's the first page. Now, let's say you have another page on this Waldo challenge. And on that page, it's just a picture of you and a picture of Waldo. Now, the rest of the page is blank. Now, you may have not the same fun, right? Maybe not as challenging, but how easy would it be to find Waldo on a page with just a picture of you and a picture of Waldo, right? Now, hear me out. We can clear the slate of our mind just like that page in that example there with meditation. When one practices meditation, they can become more intimate with themselves in a natural state without the baggage of life, without all the other stuff on the Waldo page. And in that place, in that state, when things come up, right, and when they're up on us, it is easy to see, right? If you're cool, calm, when anger shows up, quickly, oh, I'm starting to get angry, right? When you are collected and when you're clear in your thinking, fear is spotted as soon as it walks in the door. So just like the numerous benefits we talk about when it comes to meditation, hindering fear is another one, right? It's another reason why you should sit in silence or meditate in a way that fits you. Now, there's also help in this area, right? There's mindfulness and meditation apps. Headspace, the Calm app. I've used Calm a little bit. Don't know a lot about Headspace, but came highly recommended. It's based on my research because these apps offer guided meditation specifically designed for focus and stress reduction, right? Which can be particularly useful before trading sessions. Now, I personally use HoloSync, right, binaural beat meditations, but find what works for you. Now let's talk about exposure to fear. And when I say that, all that means is experience in trading will lower fear. The being familiar, word is killing me right now. Let me take a sip here. Okay. So, being familiar.
We'll be back after a quick break.
At my current company, I've generated 7 figures in revenue in just 6 months doing all the sales by myself. Just me and Rumi, my secret weapon. Rumi isn't just another meeting app. It's like Zoom or Google Meet, but with AI tools that supercharge my results. Rumi records every meeting, gives me real-time insights during sales calls, and if I've met with a prospect in the past, Rumi's meeting memory answers any questions I have before the call. I don't waste time digging through notes, Rumi preps me instantly. Go to tryrumi.ai, that's tryrumi.ai for a 14-day free trial.
With anything, from doing it consistently will help you. And it's just like professional fighters. When they're interviewed, a lot of them, they talk about fear and anxiety and heightened emotions before these big bouts. But it's not like their first fight, right? Does that make sense? So keep trading. And remember, practice makes permanent. So however you trade, right, you are adding a stone to the scale of perfection by doing it the right way every single time, right? So practice one way, the way of excellence, right? And that exposure is going to eventually get you to a place where it's repetition and there's less fear in taking that action. Remember, quality over quantity. Now, on the note of practicing, what I believed helped me earlier in my trading career is I always paper traded with larger quantities than my brokerage account. One of the biggest hurdles, even for traders who are consistently profitable, is sizing up and the fear that comes with that. Knowing this, I would sim trade 3-4 times more than my live trading. And that exposure, I believe it helped me ease fear when live trading, right, at my normal size, and when I was actually ready to size up in the real market. Now, the next way we can counteract fear is by being okay with uncertainty. When we think about things that induce fear, a lot of times its initial catalyst is the unknown, right? Think about when you're a kid, the monster under the bed, right? Or the noise in the closet. The trade outcome, as we sit in uncertainty, falls in that category. So to counter that, things that we can control need to be controlled and polished. A clear plan, right? And the 3 parts of our trading strategy: a plan for entering, written plan for entering the market, a written plan for managing a trade while you're in a trade, and a written plan for when you're going to exit the market. And this only leads the outcome to chance because you're controlling these other factors versus having to, guess on your input, right? So only the output is the variable. When you're leaving input factors to chance, it's stressful and it's fear-inducing. Don't be lazy. This happened to me early in my career. Don't be lazy or claim that you're intuitive trading when you don't have that market experience yet, right? You have to have those factors that you can control under your control. By removing the unknowns that could possibly be known, right, we decrease the fear response. And think about looking at the market and not knowing where to enter as opposed to a clear entry strategy, right? Night and day difference. While in a trade, breathing and dealing with the uncertainty, or breathing is a way that we can deal with the uncertainty because we can't possibly control it. So when the market's moving, you're in a trade, also, making sure you're following your in-trade management, but breathing is going to help with fear, anxiety, or any heightened emotions. You've heard me many times promote the practice of box breathing. Now, I use that before trading, and also I use box breathing as a means to get me back to a peak state if I get emotionally rattled. Now, if you're struggling with uncertainty, I suggest using a brain-heart coherence breathing method. So this is something that you can do while the trade's happening to keep you calm and collected and not going into that debilitating fear state where you start taking action and tinkering with things when it's not part of your plan. Now, brain-heart coherence, you can look it up. I think it's the Breathe channel that I use on YouTube. It's a tad, and I just use it for the beeper. This HRV supporting breathing is just a tad over 5 seconds on the inhale and 5 point a little change of seconds on the exhale, right? And it's a cycle. Now this works because naturally the body would only breathe that way when it's safe. So by mimicking a safety response, we reduce the nervous system activity and we decrease fear. Now, the last thing that Ralph Aldo describes as fear responses is noticing what specific stimuli causes that. So identifying and addressing the specific triggers could be a way to manage fear and to learn more about yourself. Like how I mentioned, that part of the funding challenges where I start to freak out. Knowing what might cause fear can give you a jump on protecting yourself. So the key point here is that recognition of fear within yourself is a huge step in the right direction. So today we've dissected fear, right? Understanding its roots in our biology and its impact on our trading. And we've learned that fear isn't just about losing money. There are some other factors in which it can creep up on us and it can be complex, right? So that psychological state can work for us or it can work against us. Now, remember, fear can be beneficial because it sharpens our focus and it can aid in rapid learning when we use it correctly. But unchecked fear can lead to paralysis or reckless decision making. So some key takeaways, right? You want to recognize your personal fear responses. You want to use journaling and meditation to gain clarity on yourself, right? So you know where the border is. And when fear crosses that border, you're aware of it. Build experience. Build experience through consistent practice and paper trading. And I always suggest paper trading a little bit higher, sim trading a little bit higher than your account size. You also want to develop a solid trading plan to reduce uncertainty, right? And that's part of the success generator system. So we all know that, but it's worth repeating. And then you want to also, I suggest, utilize breathing techniques to manage in the moment fear, right? The things that are happening when you're about to get in a trade, during a trade, and when you're in the actual session, right? So we have tools that support us leading up to trading. And then we also have tools that help us in real time, right? When we're on the battlefield there in the foxhole. So remember, the goal isn't to eliminate fear, right? The goal is never to eliminate these emotions that we face. They're important. They're always telling us something, but sometimes they're over speaking with us, right? So the goal is always to decrease them, but not to eliminate them. We want to harness our emotions. And by implementing these strategies, you can transform fear from hindrance into a powerful tool for growth and success on your trading journey. And I believe in you, and I believe you can do that. So keep pushing, keep learning, and most importantly, keep trading. Hope to hear from you this week. Feel free to reach out to me. Until next time, here's to being the hero of your story. Thank you for joining me on this episode of the Trading Ascension Podcast. I hope you found valuable insights to help you on your day trading journey. If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe to the podcast and leave a review. Your support by subscribing and leaving reviews helps me reach more traders like you and continue to provide this valuable content. Don't forget to head over to the tradingascension.com website for free resources, more tips, and exclusive content. If you can't wait till the next show, check out some of the previous episodes. They're great. But do join me on the next episode. And until then, keep ascending, stay mindful, and remember, your journey to mastering trading psychology for consistent profits starts with your willingness to embrace personal growth.